Façade Weatherproofing Prefabrication Solutions. Know what is available. Case Studies. This CPD presentation aims to make the facade industry aware of the latest technologies and developments in weatherproofing membranes in regards to prefabrication and bespoke solutions. We also share some of our project experiences to demonstrate these key learning points. We hope that after this CPD, you gain confidence in specifying the appropriate solutions in regards to weatherproofing prefabrication. Before commencing the CPD, we'd just like to give you a brief overview of Ephesus. Ephesus provides innovative building envelope solutions to maximize the performance and extend the lifetime of buildings, combining solutions in an innovative and balanced way, promoting integrated systems with high added value and superior quality. We offer a wide range of solutions and systems for roofs and facades. Our DNA incorporates efficiency and sustainability. Ephesus works closely with many of the facade industry's leading players, architects, facade consultants, developers, contractors, and many others, to bring the best technical solutions to the market, along with continuous support and consultancy services conducted by our technical design team. Being a specialist in weatherproofing, we have our own methodology of doing things in comparison to the standard market approach that usually goes one way from the factory to the client that generally do not suit the client need. We work project by project, assuring that every project will have its solution, maintaining a high level of interaction with all the parties involved. In the end, each project will have a bespoke solution and a dedicated approach. Ephesus has over 15 years' experience in the UK market. Here are just a couple of the most iconic projects we've been involved in the UK, working with different sectors and segments of facade application. Here, we can also see some of the recent residential projects in London that have been benefited from our facade solutions. More details about and other projects around the globe can also be found on our website. Nowadays, facades building projects become more and more demanding and are constantly pushing the boundaries. Currently, the facade design is challenged to deliver a unique aesthetic facade, curved, twisted, transparent, etc., energy efficient to fit into an inflexible budget schedule. In most cases, this is a high challenge. Why we should consider prefabrication in weatherproofing? We know all that weatherproofing is a commodity in general, but the facades nowadays require one step ahead from picking up an existing product that must be adapted. It's really critical that we have solutions that fit into each project's needs. That's when prefabrication enters, because they will provide reliable solution made usually at factory with a much more controlled environment. Rain, wind, cold temperature, factors faced at the site, in this case, will not interfere with the final output, and we will have an installation with a perfect condition. Another thing that is important and a big advantage is at the factory we have better and more stable workmanship. Some people with over 20 years of experience doing that task. When picking weatherproofing prefabrication for a project, we have an enormous impact in terms of efficiency and quality, but a very low impact on the overall budget of the project. From these pictures, you can understand the importance to have this type of pieces already prefabricated. Understanding that seals are crucial at interfaces between elements such as windows and curtain walling and the surrounding construction. Such joints are particularly vulnerable to water and air leakage, and as such, it is vital that a robust and durable seal is provided. A robust and durable seal must be provided, and it should work thought out the building life expectancy. Typical membrane materials such as EPDM, ethylene propylene diene monomer, have been used for this function, due not only to their ability to resist the passage of water and air, but also for their flexibility, which aids installation and allows for good seal to be formed whilst accommodating movement. Such materials are combustible, however, and careful consideration must be given to their use. EPDM membranes are in compliance with the approved Document C, Site Preparation and Resistance to Contaminants and Moisture, in relation to the resistance of water from the outside and also met the requirements of approved documents L1A and L1B in relation to air permeability. Following the Regulation 7, Materials and Workmanship of the Building Amended Regulations 2018 states that paragraph 2, building work shall be carried out so that materials which become part of an external wall or specified attachments of a relevant building are of European classification A2-S1, DO or A1, classified in accordance with BSEN 13501-1 2018, entitled Fire Classification of Construction Products and Building Elements, classification using test data from reaction to fire tests. Paragraph 3 lists the exemptions to paragraph 2, including item H, seals, gaskets, fixings, sealants and backer rods. Seals and sealants include, but are not limited to, CWT/SFE Fire Guidance, Issue 1, September 2020. Wet-applied sealants, used for example at interfaces between elements at movement joints, panel joints. Tapes, used for example to seal joints in sheathing boards and membranes. Impregnated foam tapes, used for example at window perimeter seals and movement joints. Bonded glazing structural sealant glazing application. A technical guidance for interpretation in relation to the external walls and specified attachments of relevant buildings in England, published by CWCT in September 2020, states that the sealing of joints between sheathing boards on a framed back wall may be crucial in terms of limiting air leakage and provides a water barrier within the wall construction. Non-combustible sealing tapes are not readily available, and therefore strips of self-adhesive tape or membrane material may be used to seal these joints, providing the strip is no greater than 150 mm wide and protected behind non-combustible insulation. We consider this a seal and therefore as being exempt from Regulation 7(2). In the same way that a sealant used in this location would be considered exempt. Being limited in width and behind non-combustible insulation, the use of a membrane in this location will result in negligible risk of fire spread. The basis for the value of 150 mm is simply to minimize the use of the combustible membrane while still ensuring there is reasonable embedment on either side of the joint. Seals in interfaces location are not exposed, typically being fixed between a window and the back wall and subsequently covered with non-combustible insulation, or between a curtain wall profile and the surrounding wall construction and covered by a non-combustible dry lining system, as shown in picture on the right side. Several Class B membranes are now on the market, but they tend to lack the physical flexibility provided by materials such as EPDM. It is therefore recommended that the use of a membrane material at such interfaces is considered as a seal and is exempt from Regulation 7(2). Notice that the Construction Products Regulation requires that construction products must be covered by harmonized European product standard or conform to European technical assessments and should normally have CE marking, Approved Document 7. Materials like EPDM should comply the standard BSEN 13859-2 flexible sheets for waterproofing. Important consideration should be given when picking such type of materials, like resistance to water, water vapor properties, tear and tensile strength, elongation, and other technical characteristics. It is important to reference the environmentally friendly nature of EPDM. When installed correctly, EPDM has a life expectancy in excess of 50 years. This durability, and also EPDM's ease of repair, reduces the need for EPDM to be disposed of in landfill sites. EPDM sheets can be recycled after use for things such as the rubber mats used in children's playgrounds, car tires, or used as fuel to help reduce dependency on fossil fuels. EPDM rubber is the choice for the environmentally conscious. Not only is it the healthiest option for the planet, but it's also the choice for the financially savvy. Long lifespan and durability mean that replacement costs are far less than the alternatives. During the manufacturing process, a low amount of energy is used, assuring an energy-efficient production method. EPDM is not only applied on facade projects but also roofing applications. In these conditions, the material is totally exposed, and under the influence of temperature, sun and other weather conditions, the EPDM does not release toxic substances into the environment, remaining always stable due to the special composition. This material doesn't pollute rainwater, so when rain causes puddles on the roof, no harmful chemicals will pollute this rainwater. This means the water will not affect the environment and wildlife and stays safe for rainwater harvesting. On site, it's common to constantly see the workmanship changing and to have multiple teams. Prefabrication allows us to have an increment in terms of quality of the installation of EPDM membranes. Prefabrication allows us to have an increment in terms of quality of the installation of EPDM membranes. We also have, most of the time, difficult access conditions or space available on site to have a proper work and weatherproofing seal on interfaces, for instance. Prefabrication increases the predictability of a problem. We are constantly at the site, and problems like this are very common. Having different suppliers and different applicators that cannot assure the overall quality of the installation. Adhesive failure problems, compatibility of substrates that are not tested previously, and many other factors. In the end, a membrane that should work to waterproof a facade window interface will not fulfill its purpose. Prefabrication will reduce human error at the site. This type of solution will also have a much faster installation time, leveraging the possibility of installation with a controlled environment at the factory. Specifiers should be aware that when a solution is proposed on their drawings, they should also work well during the installation, having total confidence on the final quality. One way to protect your design is to promote prefabricated solutions in your projects when needed. We decided to bring a couple of case studies to understand the different possibilities available. Going to case study 1, this is a project located in Paris, France. The challenge here was to find a solution to perimeter seal all the windows to be applied at the factory. The project was composed by over 700 windows with multiple typologies and dimensions. It was asked to the client to submit the project information, and this is when we start to go into detail. Understanding that even with different typologies, it was concluded that all corners left and right and window height are the same. The only thing that will vary will be the top and bottom, thus the window length. In the beginning, it's important to propose multiple alternatives, but the best alternative found was to propose half frames prefabricated, where the only thing that will change is the central part that were also applied at the factory, but in this case using a standard membrane. In this project, a self-adhesive band was also incorporated in the window frame to facilitate the application and to have a better seal. Here, you can see a couple of images at the factory, where a controlled environment is assured in comparison to the site. You can also see the quality of the membrane installation and vulcanization on all corners on the top right picture with no weak points. The corners are always the trickiest part to do on site. In this case study, all the weatherproofing tasks were done at the factory, and the only job performed on site was applying a bead of adhesive sealant on the perimeter of the frame on the back wall, as you can see, highlighted in red on the top right picture. Case Study 2. It's an important project that, as more we start looking, the more interesting it became. If we look just at a section cut, we will tough that is a simple interface between two aluminium frames, so we will need just a simple membrane to seal and make this link between the left and right frame. However, if we see on the facade elevation drawing on top, we actually have a detail more complicated than just right and left. We have an X intersection of 4 aluminium frames. This is a project located in Madrid, and to understand it better, it was done some 3D modelling. As always, this started in the concept phase, and to have this level of prefabrication done with an EPDM membrane only shows that the possibilities are endless. To do this type of seal in a proper way at a site will be almost impossible or with very poor quality, as per the difficulty of the seal with many weak points. Having these 3D prefab pieces in all of the facade intersections allows us a perfect weatherproofing seal. Case Study 3. This was a project located in the heart of London. As with Case Study 1, the challenge was the same. But besides providing a window seal, the window corners here was much more complicated. The project was solved after optimizing and understanding its needs, offering 6 types of prefabricated pieces for the cones as you can see in the images. And again, the rest of the windows were sealed linked with a standard membrane. The vulcanization technology used to create these pieces is based on high-tech equipment combined with high temperatures that will vulcanize the EPDM into final shape. Vulcanization uses heat, pressure, and uncured rubber that's made of the same elastomer as the sheet or profile itself. With vulcanization, uncured rubber is applied to the membrane joint. After the ends are pressed together, the joint is placed into a hot mould. Here are some shots from the precast facility. It is possible to see in the central photo at left prefab corners linked with a strand membrane on the central part. Attention to the vulcanization quality on the right image. As part of a job of proximity and detailing, site visits are imperial to assure proper product installation. It's important to also include a report with comments, photos, observations, and correct measures. At this phase was noticed some resistance and difficulty from the installers to identify the right corner to apply. Considering that, this should be a simple and easy process. This was solved with a logistical plan offering a coloured box scheme, where they have in each box the corresponding corners for the different window types. The Case Study 4 is a curtain wall stick system with a prefabricated balcony, post-fix brackets to ensure the connections to the main building structure or floor slab. Each interface with the steel arms must be sealed in these cases. What was decided to do here was a prefab sleeve. After understanding the multiple perforation shapes and different angles that will vary depending on the balcony floor level and also the elevation, it was proposed different prefab sleeves types. In Case Study 5, it's a project in the north of England where we have a roof level with a prolongation of steel posts penetrating the coping parapet wall that needs to be sealed. If we don't have the proper solution, we will have a direct leak point into the facade. A solution with a low impact on the project budget, but with a high impact the whole building integrity. It was also proposed here prefab sleeves. Case Study 6 is another project in the UK where the client would like to use a system and an EPDM gasket profile from a previous project they developed for a specific facade system, and they wanted to use the same on this project. However, the specification would not allow do with a corner of the frames sealed using a paste adhesive sealant, with a high standard requirement that all the cones should be done at the factory. In this case, the client was aware of our vulcanization technology. So we pick up the existing profile and we develop a mould to create a double corner joint at the factory. Sometimes we also need to seal a gap joint between two surfaces or materials externally positioned facing the outside, so we can also do prefab pieces generally using EPDM cellular rubber that is completely air and watertight, as you briefly see here on Case Study 7. There are also alternatives made of polyethylene or polyurethane base. After having seen these case studies, here you can find a brief summary of a methodology on prefabrication projects, starting with design review and finishing with the final product installation. These steps must be followed by all parties to ensure the final solution. Using the technology that is already available, a project need can be fully fulfilled in terms of prefabrication of waterproofing seal, starting with standard membrane rolls going all the way to full customization. It is important to mention not all projects will require this type of solution, but it is important to know that this is available, and we are seeing more and more specifiers including on their project a prefab piece, a prefab sleeve when is needed. The possibilities are endless. In this presentation, you learned about the new technologies and possibilities available on prefabrication to weatherproofing and how to benefit from prefabrication technologies on different facade applications. Using prefabrication solutions, we can improve the project predictability and also raise the facade efficiency and final quality. Thank you very much for taking part in this CPD. For further details, please visit www.ephesus.com or contact us directly regarding facade weatherproofing solutions.